Yeah.
What's up, everyone? It's William Walker with Trekker's Delight, and I'm here with my buddies Jason and Keith. How you doing, guys?
Hey.
Doing good. What's up, Will?
I brought my Oreos, and I brought my chocolate chip cookies, and I brought my milk. And we brought today. We're going to be reviewing Discovery Season 5, Episode 4, Face the Strange. And you know what Marie always says.
Roll that beautiful. Every other vote.
I mean, I just want to know what we're going to be ready. Oh, wait, we're going live.
Here we are. Welcome once again to Trekker's Delight.
Like, literally, my mic falls down just as we go live. Hi, everybody!
Why is that person not even moving behind you?
That's what you're paying attention to?
On a scale of 1 to 10.
Oh my god, no.
Love that baseball and the teacup. Like, clearly, TNG DS9 fans. So.
This was a nice touch.
The moans.
The most.
No, everybody, this is actually one of the main screenwriters for Prodigy, so we are super excited to hear from you. And
No one
also,
listened.
I'm a little embarrassed for being as critical.
Man, I really love that intro.
Welcome back.
Yes, I know it was self-serving. I know.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Nothing wrong patting yourself on the back there.
Just a little
Oh,
bit. Just a little bit. So, who wants to do the recap? Because if I do the recap, I'm going to do it in 30 seconds.
I could do it. I guess I haven't done one in a while.
All right. Take it from here, Jason.
I'll take 45. No, okay. So today's episode was called "Face the Strange," which, by the way, is a David Bowie song. Keith just told me that, and I didn't even know that. So we open up with Mal and Laak doing a little shady buying deal with a guy who tries to pull one over on them, and they poison him with poison soaked latinum. He dies. They get a little device, and we're not sure what it is until they go to the next screen and they show the bug. So I guess you have to put two and two together. There's a bug that we saw in the last episode that got onto Adira, and then it's on the ship. And so we go to the spot, the coordinates that they got from Trill. And when they get there, there's nothing there. No ships, no moons, no planets, no nothing. Rayner is being an asshole. So yeah, Captain Burnham takes him into her Reddit room to give him a little talk. And then all of a sudden there is an energy fluctuation on the ship, and they go to transport back. But when they transport, they didn't go anywhere, and all of a sudden everything on the ship has changed. They're like, and it's in a chaotic state. They're going to bridge. Everybody's lying on the floor, hurt. They see the red angel outside the window, and she realizes, okay, we didn't just transport anywhere. We transported to a wind place, because that's me out there flying, and the ship's about to crash. So basically, this whole episode is sort of like the episode Shattered Voyager, almost, kind of, where they keep showing up on Voyager at different time frames, and they're only staying there for a certain amount of time. I think sometimes it was 8 minutes. But the cool thing is we get to see Voyager in the past. We get to see a couple. We could have used a couple more people, but some older faces that we hadn't seen before. The old uniforms, the old hairstyles. You get to see Burnham fighting Burnham. But they also hook up with Stamets because Michael Burnham knows that he is sort of not as sensitive to time changes and effects. So they get with Stamets, and eventually they work out a system of getting this bug off the ship. But to do it, they have to convince the whole crew to exit a warp bubble, which, in the manner in which they're going to do it, they think it's going to destroy the ship. So she has to convince them, like, hey, first of all, they think she's a changeling. She has to convince them through love that she knows them and that she's telling the truth. And the whole episode sort of is designed to slap Rayner in the face with the idea that he's like, well, you don't need to get to know people. There's no point in that. You just go to town, do the business, do what has to be done. And the whole point of this show is if they didn't know the people, they wouldn't be able to talk them into solving the problem and saving the day. So they do that, and then they're back to where they started on the original ship, and they tell the story, and everybody's like, whoa, really? And you're like, yeah. And that's all I got for you. All right, are you mid-drink there? Okay, so pretty cool episode. But let's add to the list. Somebody's got to make a list here one of these days of the amount of ways that you can time travel in Star Trek. Now you can just buy a time bug and throw it on somebody's ship. Where did this stuff come from?
So I had a conversation with Marie earlier about yes, this is pretty much Shattered. It's pretty much a remake of Shattered. But Marie also brought up another episode from Prodigy called Time Amok.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking that one about.
Yeah, and I concur with given the time between each thing and how long they have.
Yeah. Yeah, remember when you had the chart where they're showing them going back and forth in time stream, we had that in Time Amok in Prodigy.
Exactly. And in a way, even though the ship wasn't going to be destroyed, they were running out of time because they saw what the alternate future, what the future was going to be, which just so happens to be the Calypso future.
Not quite, but it was close.
Implied.
I was so hoping that Kraft would be there. That they would have walked onto the bridge and Kraft would have been there. That would have been fantastic.
Yeah, because in Calypso, like Discovery looked like they were in a nebula and 1,000 years had passed.
Yeah, and everything was clean.
And Zora said 30 years.
Yeah,
it's been 30 years, so it hadn't been another 1,000 yet. It wasn't the year 4,000 yet.
Right.
So, but we also had a nice cameo from a certain someone.
Miriam. Don't trust her.
I gotta say, shout out to this particular episode because you remember how like the last 2 years I kept going on about how the one thing that I didn't really like about Discovery is that they lacked character development. They brought that home between the last episode and this episode when we learned a lot more about the crew. Like it's just like things you would think we would know from season 1, but stuff I didn't really know. I didn't know, dude, like 23rd century Constitution class ships because of the curves. Like,
right.
It's pretty specific.
Yeah,
but
nice curves.
Detail though, you know. So what did y'all like about this episode in particular?
You go ahead, Keith.
Well, I liked seeing the different times. I loved having Ariam back. And it was kind of interesting how they presented things. And I was looking at it. It turns out like when she shows up when they get on the bridge during the time jump, they used archival footage. So it wasn't like they brought everybody back and had them lay back on the bridge. That was amusing, unused footage from filming that episode.
Wait, which one was unused footage?
Where they walk out onto the bridge and everyone's knocked unconscious because they're going into the future.
That's unused footage.
That's unused footage from the second episode of season 3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this is actually the very first episode of Discovery to not include Doug Jones.
Oh, yeah. He wasn't on this at all.
Yeah, because he was passed out on the floor in that archival footage. Otherwise, he wasn't in the episode at all.
Mm.
And now I was doing the math by going back to season 1 and how briefly we had between Burnham getting on Discovery and Landry being killed. Because they said Lorca, Saru, and Landry were out on a mission.
Mhm.
Right.
And she got on Discovery in episode 3, and Landry was killed in episode 4.
Right, but
Which one was Landry again?
she's the
She was the
security
security officer.
officer. She dies in both universes.
Yeah.
So, but
Oh yeah.
yeah,
She got killed by the tardigrade in the 4th episode of season 1.
yeah,
Oh.
Remember, she was holding the phaser rifle on Ripper, and he, thrashed her to death.
So that's our Tasha Yar.
Yes,
Okay.
but they had to get her out of the way. So, what's his face?
I don't know. That's our
Tyler. Yeah,
Tyler could get on the ship, like
Yeah.
make room for cast, right?
Yeah, but it was like Burnham was beginning of episode 4 was when Burnham became the specialist,
right.
and her first assignment was to go to the science lab and see Ripper, and it was like very quickly the lander. So that might
was
that's
the
a
next
little bit
episode.
of a no. That was episode 4, the episode where Landry died.
Mm.
Oh, okay. Well,
Hmm.
no, but when they went to the ship to get it one episode, and then the next episode, Landry died.
Yes, they got it on episode
Right.
3, which was Burnham's first episode on Discovery.
Right.
It started with her being transferred, and the shuttle gets picked up by Discovery.
Hmm.
And she was supposed to leave at the end of the episode, but she stayed behind. And then Saru was surprised to see her in the turbo lift at the beginning of the next episode.
Hmm.
He was almost appalled to see her.
Yeah. So somewhere in that brief thing, now there's apparently a mission that Lorca, Saru, and Landry go on. So, I mean, it's a convenient way to explain Lorca and Saru not being there, but they didn't need to include Landry. That would have given them a lot more time to...
Right, because then it could have been any time after that. Well, they had Burnham on there, so it had to be a time when she was on the ship.
Yes, somewhere between
then,
episode 3 and episode 7 when Tyler joins.
Right.
Now, that would have been cool if they would have had Tyler back on.
I was really thinking about that, like having like a brief, like as much as I loved seeing, Book back there shirtless as a hot hunk from heaven, but it would have been nice to see Tyler, like once, like I don't know, like revisit that for like 10 seconds.
Well, the thing is, they would have had to have done it with the season 2 Tyler because of the full beard and hair. There's no way he was going to shave and get a haircut.
That's right. Season 1 Tyler was still a Klingon. He was still.
Wait, I forget what happened to Tyler.
He stayed behind.
He stayed in the past.
Oh, okay.
And I think he technically rejoined the Klingon Empire.
No, he was put in charge of Section 31.
Section 31.
In charge.
Yeah, he was named commander of Section 31 at the end of season 2. Yeah.
Why did I wait? That's right. That did happen. I need to rewatch season 1 and 2.
that would have been a more emotional scene if Tyler was there.
Oh, yeah. It would have been beautiful.
Well, because how conflicted would Burnham have been seeing Tyler, just after she had that moment with Book,
right?
Flashing back too. So
because Ariam, the only thing about Ariam is that they never really developed her, and the only time they tried to give her something was the same episode that they killed her. So yeah, it was cool to see her, but I wasn't like, oh wow, yeah, Ariam's back.
I was about to say that I got more from Ariam in this episode than I did before. Like she had she had her own brief monologue, which was great, and she actually gave specifics as to her character. She said, "No, this is what I would do."
And of course, that was Hannah Cheeseman's Ariam. That was the Ariam that was on season 2.
There were 2 different Ariams.
Yeah, because Sarah Middich was Ariam in season 1, and she in season 2 she was Nielsen, the person who took over when Ariam died.
And why did she feel like she had to tell her that she dies? Like,
well, it's
That's
You
kind
That
of
was a way
addictive.
of convincing Ariam that she's telling the truth.
Kind of addictive. First of all, they just threw time travel rules out the window.
Ariam
they-
is the most logical one on the bridge at the time. Like,
Well, they did try to not, and they were trying not to break the rules of the temporal prime directive.
Yeah.
But then it was like they realized if they're able to stop these time jumps, that the past won't be changed.
Right, everything would go back to normal.
I will say I did enjoy how realistic it was. Everyone's harsh reaction was to Michael Burnham saying that, because who goes back other than Admiral Janeway? Who goes back and says, "Hey,
Yay, she's back."
Right.
Right. So Marie, we're pretty much on the part of Area. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much everyone's reaction to Ariam receiving the news of her death. And I kind of liked how realistic that action was. And the only other time that I remembered someone revealing like a death, and they didn't want to, they really tried, like Michael tried to avoid it. But the last time I remember it was Admiral Janeway talking about Seven, what happened to Seven, and eventually Chakotay, right?
Well, and that was her just, being conniving and trying to
like,
to get Seven and Chakotay to do what she wanted.
Right. But we did the recap pretty much. Marie, what's your take on and I saved the GIF just for you for when you got back. But what's your take on the
gift? What
GIF?
gift?
The GIF, the GIF.
Oh, yes.
As soon as you say his name, I'm gonna pop it up.
What was my take on it? My take on it is this is how you do a sci-fi, you do a time jump / warp / issue and still tie it in with an overarching thing with the necessity of connection.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, we saw that certainly last season as being one of the major themes, right? Interacting with the creators of the DMV or the DMA rather, the DMV. They might as well have created the DMV, honestly,
right?
For all we've had to suffer. And now we're just building on it, but we're also adding an individualistic component to it still, again, which is figuring out where we want to be and how we want to be there. I will say it was really, really funny that there's that great moment where Burnham is talking to herself in a very literal way. And she looks at herself and she says, "Look, I know it's really dark right now, but this is a stage. This is a chapter, not the end of your story."
Because if you were
and
to
I don't know
yourself, it answers that question, right? In a way. How would your stuff react?
Right, but let's be real. I don't know who else needed to hear that today, but I sure as hell did.
Yeah.
Because wherever we are, wherever you are right now, this is not it.
Oh, amen.
It's only for
this
now.
Is not it.
Amen.
This is a chapter. This is not the end. The best thing you can do is to get up. And let yourself believe. And that was such a powerful moment there. And I know that's not what you wanted me to talk about.
No. Honestly, it's pretty spot on. It's pretty spot on.
What you wanted me to talk about was David Ajala's abs. There we go.
It wasn't the original one, but I'll take it.
I mean, yeah.
Close enough. And I think he was a tad bit more ripped in this one. Talk about a proper.
I mean, I am not gonna say that was not a nice thing to see. That was clearly done for the female gaze.
Oh, I was doing so good. It's just I was doing so good. Now I gotta go clubbing again. I was doing so good.
I mean, I'm just gonna go shopping on the internet. That's what I'm gonna do.
that was you do. Oh. Yeah.
And look, everybody, I'm super proud of us. It only took me 20 minutes to bring us into the gutter. Now, admittedly, most of that I wasn't present for, but I'm still counting it as a win.
Oh, Keith brought up some interesting points with
in the gutter.
Well, When
Gutter adjacent.
Shit, now we're going bowling with like, with like the gutter rails.
No, I ran out of milk. Okay, please don't I don't
You
want to
ran
get
out of milk? Like,
I
what is
know.
this?
Bree, I already
Clockwork
got on him.
Orange?
He's got his milk and cookies, and I already got on him for making us feel old again.
Bro, I got milk and cookies. I got my
are you about to
Oreos,
ask us? Are you about to ask us if we're groovy druids or whatever?
No, I was just telling my friend who's in the living room right now.
We're going to the Corova Milk Bar with Roddy McDowell.
Right. But after literally seeing dude's abs, I had a sugar rush because either I was gonna get some sugar one way or the other. And since I clearly can't get it the other way, I'm gonna get some milk and cookies right now because we have a show to do. So,
and I completely forgot it even happened. Like I didn't even know what y'all were talking about when you brought it up.
I know. Like obviously Jason's the one who's in a stable relationship. The rest of us are just like, literally catching the drool.
The lack of intimacy. Day 296 without sex. I have to watch David's abs on Star Trek Discovery just to
One, honey, I am so sorry you're counting.
Yeah.
Number two, I decided for my own. For my own, I can't count that high, so I just refuse to continue.
Y'all, I was doing so good, and I have expected Michael to come on and talk about the. I really have expected it, and Jermaine just puffing away at it, but anyway,
no. Everybody else is adults, and we're just over here But there are all these wonderful themes. There's this whole emotional arc that we go through. No, David Ajala's abs.
But I do have a question for you though, Marie. Back to what Keith sort of brought up. So we saw Ariam, which is great, but there were other names mentioned, and we heard about Lorca. We heard about we thought where Tyler might be. How do you feel like the interactions would have been if Michael would, or even or maybe the first Captain Georgia, right? How do you feel, or what would have been look like if Michael met any of them others, or do you think the spotlight would have been taken away from Ariam?
Definitely would not have been the first Captain Georgiou because she was never on Discovery.
Right, she was well fricasseed by that point. She had been sampled extensively.
I forgot all about that.
Well,
that is nightmare fodder, by the way, from the first couple of episodes. Thanks.
The Mirror Universe when she was on Discovery.
Yeah, but he specifically said the first Georgia.
Well, yeah, because in my head I thought, the first, but then I was like, wait a minute, Keith is right. So let's talk about Empress Georgia, right? So
they could have did her.
I think bringing Iriam back was a really interesting move because I did not like how they handled Iriam's story, because Iriam's story was sandwiched into, and we've had this discussion about Discovery before, right? Which is, we have this rich cast of characters and we don't know anything about them until it's time to kill Iriam off. And that was, I think, really funny that we're kind of having a nod to that
right
in this episode, right? With the whole business of hey, Raynor, go spend more than 30 seconds with these characters, when all the rest of us are just we would have liked to as well.
Well, it's also because they give Michael Burnham so much screen time. Right.
Well, she's the star of the show.
Well, yeah, but you could have other Star Treks had, who you could say the star of the show is, but they also had whole episodes.
27 episodes.
Huh? Well,
they also had 27 episodes. Yeah. And I think that's the difference. That the length that we now have has certainly changed how storytelling occurs in these shows. And you can see the difference. Go rewatch Prodigy and then sit down with a season of Discovery. You get so much more interaction, so much more storytelling depth, because they just have room to do it. Period.
Yeah, but they could also have more people. What was the other episode a week or two ago when she was surfing on a spaceship? They could have had somebody else do that. But it had to be Burnham.
He is the star of the show, and it has been from the very beginning.
And it's to bring
as of this episode, she's the only person to have been in every single episode of Discovery, because Doug Jones was not in this episode.
He was.
No, archival.
It was a corpse.
No, it was archival footage. It was
that's right.
Nothing new. So.
So yeah, but going back to it, the other fun part about it is like they're literally looking for something difficult, and they're looking for a really hard connection. And you can't do that with Lorca because Lorca was a D-bag from the jump. And I really think the fact that he considered Elon Musk one of the top people in our time frame was really meant as a hint that he was in fact a giant D-bag. You can't really do that, and you can't really do that with Giorgio, because they worked through their shit.
Right.
There's nothing unresolved.
Well,
They said their goodbyes, they did all their thing, yada yada. And also Giorgio would have been such a wild card
back then.
Well,
yeah, like Mira Giorgio would have been a wild card. Will be a wild card. Period. That's kind of like her whole shtick. It could have been Pike.
Maybe.
Because again, we don't really have anything outstanding with Pike.
Yeah.
Irium works because of that story, because we have that history, and because we know that there's going to be this sacrifice. And so like when confronted with the reality of her willingness to sacrifice herself for everyone else, which is, I guess Irium's big secret here, that's
Well, Tyler would have worked.
Ish. Except that Ash never dies. There's not really a big sacrifice there that isn't comparatively unresolved. And I'm not even saying that Irium's death is unresolved. That's not it. It's just that it's a very convenient flashpoint. And it's an easy flashpoint to reach out and grab. Right? Because that was what the story was intended to do. Irium's death story is literally intended to create emotional buy-in in a season where there was very little, because they just had not handled that season well.
Yeah, but they crammed it into one episode, which made
I'm not saying they did it well here either.
Well, that goes back to the original point.
Really weird.
That goes back to the original point before Marie jumped on. It's just like, remember the last 2 years, and I already said it, but I'm just repeating for Marie. The last 2 years, I pretty much said Discovery is probably the Star Trek show that had the least character development, like compared to the other new Trek, in my opinion. But I got more from Ariam in this episode than I ever did in any of the other shows, and other episodes where she was in as like a side character.
And also, I mean, I'd argue that I got even more out of her than we did with her tropey death too.
Yeah.
Because her death, like seriously, like you could have, and I didn't like this episode when it aired. I still don't. You could have set a metronome by the story beats, because we open it with this horrible backstory about her losing her happiness to this shuttle accident, followed by her reality now as a cyborg that has to dump half of her memories and like literally curate her life experience every goddamn day because she has, I don't know, like 256 megs of RAM. And like a solid state drive.
Our brain actually does that as well. Sort of a mimic.
Yeah, but you don't make the conscious decision what to remember and what not to.
Right.
She is literally picking and choosing. So there was a really interesting concept that could have been played up there, and then they just don't have time for it. Because again, here we are. You follow that by all the crap that goes down with Control. And then she's like nobly sacrificing herself, and then Tilly hacks her so that her last memory is that beautiful memory that we've already seen before, bringing us full circle. I mean, it's tack, 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 tack. It was not. Let me put it to you this way: ain't nobody writing anything new in that story.
Yeah.
All right. We've seen it a million times, and what it was is one. It did actually push us a little bit further in the Control storyline. Not a lot, but we maybe got down the driveway a bit. And two was to try to remind us that we were supposed to have these emotional attachments to these characters that we've seen forever now and like have spoken to twice.
Well, this episode really didn't move the story along. at all either. Like
Yeah.
just in general. I mean,
I think it enhanced the
Did it-
relationship and maybe not the command structure, but the relationship between Michael and what was his name?
Rainer.
Rainer.
right. That's the only thing that maybe it accomplished is that maybe he's going to be not such an ass anymore after this.
Well, no, and it showed it that Maul and Locke got ahead of them. So
Yeah,
Yeah. So I got
Yeah.
questions about that. How are they? So okay. So they didn't. I guess they followed. How are they ahead of?
well, they were stuck.
So Maul and Locke use the time that they're on Trill, which there's some timing issues
6
that I have real
hours.
questions about. Like I really not even 6 hours, but like the time that has passed between the departure from Trill and the arrival here. Like I have questions, like because apparently Maul and Locke had time to find a dude on the black market, acquire the poison, get some latinum, poison his ass, like
Yeah.
all of this business. Now, admittedly, they did all of this
But how are they?
before Trill, but they had all of that time. How long were we on Trill, people?
yeah, we were on Trill for a bit too long.
Right? Like I have real questions at this point because otherwise, Maul and Locke are the most efficient people in this show.
Yeah, the Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, but they didn't get the clue, right? So Discovery gets the clue, and they got to the place first.
So they knew they were in. So somehow they magically tracked them to Trill, and they knew they would be in Trill long enough to again murder this dude and do all of the aforementioned nefarious scheming.
And if there's, I'm sorry, go ahead, Marie.
So they managed to get all of that done and get to Trill before the departure, so that they can drop the bug on Adira. So like I've got questions. How long was Janal?
And how come nobody else is looking at like, hey, who are you? Like,
So yeah, right, right. Like I mean,
these people are always skeptical of other people, right? They've been,
and this is the holiest of holies. You think you'd look around and be like, "You're not a guardian that I know. There are like 6 of us."
All I gotta say is that would have not have flown well on Borth. Like, no way.
So, no. Somebody would have Klingon curb stomped him like that. No.
So maybe they tracked Discovery to those coordinates, right?
Right.
But when Discovery got there,
it made sense if it was a tracker that they put on Adira and not the.
I thought it was a tracker.
I thought it was a tracker.
I figured maybe they use it as both because I'm trying to figure out.
Well, no, they had that. They did say that when the time bug first activated, that it transmitted a signal.
Oh, right, but nothing was there. There was no.
When
clue
the
there.
logic of your plot hinges on a throwaway line, you know you're in a Star Trek episode.
Yeah, but there was no. Okay, there was nothing there. There was no clue there, right?
That we know of. Maul and Locke had an additional 6 hours, like while we were going on our deep emotional journey.
I have a thought about that.
Shit out.
I have a thought about that. So we know that the ship has been stuck in this time amok shattered time loop for the past 6 hours that almost turned into several weeks. That almost turned into, because from what we learned in the show, who's to say that that the little spider thing, which I don't know why they chose a spider, but whatever, acted as also like a GPS type thing, like, hey, let's
that's what I'm saying.
Right. But I'm getting there. So let's just say Bonnie and Clyde, because I keep forgetting their names, they get to Discovery. Maul and Locke, they get to the ship. They're wearing temporal inhibitors. I'm just making this shit up at this point. To board the ship, to board the ship and take the clues that they already have. And then jump ship and then get to the other remaining.
They don't need the clues they already have. That's in the they've already done that.
But the thing is,
we don't know that. We don't know that yet. Like we don't know that there's not like, I mean, because my God, if if we are going on a Grail quest, which I really think we are, they're gonna need the Hoogity archaeological map thing.
But if they're ahead of them now, how is Discovery even going to? I mean, how is Discovery going to find?
Well, yeah, that was my question at the end of the episode. How does Discovery know where to go next? They said they're going on something. They said they couldn't track the warp signature of the ship that had been there.
We're gonna find the remains of the clue. We're literally gonna pull another magic like MacGuffin, right? Remember the mysterious, like the phosphorescent moss.
Yeah,
it hasn't been several weeks, 6 hours. Whatever it was. Can't be that far ahead of them, right?
Well, no, but
a lot can happen in 6 hours. Literally, ask anyone who's had a bad hookup.
Oh Lord, don't remind me.
But Owo said that they has no track of where this warp signature went. So when they're leaving Zenkati's space there, we have no idea where they're going.
So,
And
right.
yet they
Oh
seem
no,
to have
we're
an
gonna
idea.
find it. Like, yeah, we're gonna find out. Like, we're gonna
No,
find out. Like, because
so
this is how this works.
my thing is, Mile and Locke shouldn't have a clue of where to go. But even if they do, now Discovery shouldn't have a clue on where to go.
They're gonna figure it out because that's how this works.
Well, maybe that's for next episode to ask and answer the question of this
Oh, I know
episode.
what
Was
next episode is.
how could Rayner better connect? Like, because there's always like the real story, the real question. How can Rayner connect with the Discovery crew? Because he, at the right before the time jump began, he's just like, well, I just think it's completely inefficient that you connect with your crew at all. And then he saw that it was their connection that made him strong. You got to have that episode to make it
No,
work.
but we had that last week. We were supposed to have that last week.
Oh, I mean,
And we do, but not quite, not quite
I
the
thought
same way.
Billy
Right.
checked him, but he didn't really see it though, right?
Yeah, I was not happy with
I
what
think
they did
Rayner.
with him at the
I
beginning.
think Will's right. I think Rayner has to live that. I think Rayner had to go through this experience to start to kind of shock himself out of his existing thing.
Yeah, well, the whole
his
episode was
mindset.
designed. The whole episode was designed for that purpose, for his character to change.
And you got to think about it. He's the only post-burn 32nd century being to see how these
Mhm.
Constitution era class people lived. You right? Like he's the only one. Everyone else just knows
Well,
stories.
If he knew obviously he knew a good bit about Burnham because he knew that she was a
mutineer.
mutineer, and he knew
Right.
that they traveled from the past, which seemed like something that they were trying to, hide when they first got to the 32nd century.
Bruce Effis got everybody's file, and
Yeah.
and Dollars to Donuts he also pulled Michael's because that's the only thing that makes sense, and that makes sense with his character because remember that whole line of if you were not prepared, like if you have not prepared, prepare to fail.
Right.
As much as he hates that little nugget, I guarantee you he lives by it.
But
Yeah.
he doesn't know how people live, how they lived back
No,
then,
not at all.
because
He
he's
has
on the
no
ship.
he has no concept, and so that
Right.
again, that's the point. So going back to my statement about here, like us being on a Grail quest. The reason I think this episode it works and is so important is because the goal of the Grail quest is not to get the Grail.
Right.
That's not the point. The point is to go along this journey and to have these experiences and to purify yourself to the point that you are worthy of receiving the Grail mysteries, and then you ascend to fucking heaven if you're Galahad.
Neil.
Well, let me ask you this then, because I remembered at the beginning of this season that all parties here in Trekkers Delight pretty much said that we enjoyed that this wasn't like a end of the galaxy, save the world type thing. It's an adventure type thing. Well, now we kind of see that this is an end of the galaxy, save the world type season because
they lied.
There was no way we were getting around that, guys. Like there was no way. That's literally how the modern storytelling is going. I mean, we've seen it in every season of Discovery. We've seen it in
Marvel,
Strange New World. We've seen it in Marvel. We've seen it
there's
Doctor
always
Who.
some sort of consequence.
No,
And it's gotta be huge.
It's a huge thing. Sometimes I'm just like, even with like superhero movies, I'm like, I just want to watch them catch guys that rob banks. Like, what is all this?
This is
Why is the
now-
universe
right.
You're like, I legitimately need you to bring back Adam West, the Adam West era Batman,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Where's our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man? Come on.
Right.
Like I don't need my neighbor. I mean, yes, it's awesome that we now live in, the Friedman's world is flats phenomenon. So our neighborhood is now a little bit larger than just our physical neighborhood. But like at the end of the day, though, like there is nothing inherently wrong about not saving the galaxy.
Right. Just have like. Also, it puts Discovery like in a position where it's like, okay, Discovery has saved the burn, saved the galaxy, saved the
They
Federation.
listed it off in this episode.
saved, yeah,
I know.
it's like
and then I'm sitting here like Burnham's going through her pedigree, right?
Right.
Going, this is why this way has worked to do the following, and then Rayner's just like, maybe it's better.
right. Which
No, it's not.
made me hate him so much. I'm like, oh my god, this guy's
The
getting
heck
my
have
nerves.
you done, son?
Right from the beginning, I was like, oh, this dude.
But I will say, other than like the roster of times that Discovery has saved the galaxy, and why not? It's Star Trek, do what Kirk did, I guess. It reminded me of what the concept of this particular episode reminded me of. You remember Deep Space Nine when the Iconian Gateway was a thing,
Yeah.
like, and it's just like they could have acquired the technology in the end, they chose to destroy it,
Mhm.
like, because now it's starting to seem more like that because Iconians kind of predate. But they probably came after the progenitors any damn way. But
Again, like I said, the point of the Grail is not to get the Grail.
It was really weird that coordinates was just sitting on this rock, and it could have been like he didn't have to dig for it. He just, okay, this is gonna stay here for 400 years. No one's gonna touch that rock.
Yeah, it made sense if it was in the nest of the giant bugs, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was off to the side. Just
Yeah, but
behind the
also,
rock.
like, I mean, how often? I mean, how over the course of 400 years, those nests could have fucking moved. You know, like,
Everything moves. Earthquake. Well, I don't know what their geologic stability is, but everything moves.
all this
Right?
is reminding me of, like, what if the DM
the
DMV.
DMA.
yeah, what if the DMA accidentally ate one of those planets and then it just screws up the whole season?
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
or just one really crappy archaeologist, right? Like Picard is just dicking around, like pretending to be smart, and manages to just make off with something that Velik set up to be ancient. You know, like, I mean, this is oh. And don't get me wrong. I love this game as much as anybody else. I did, in fact, sit with the episodes of MacGyver that involved Ambrose and the Compass of the Rose. I did. Admittedly, I was a child then, but you know, whatever. But yeah, like, it's the thing about these stories is that this story structure is really old. Like, really old. Like, as old as telling stories is.
Can you explain, like, what do you mean by structure? Like what?
Because we're almost living in a medieval romance at this point. And when I say a medieval romance, I don't mean like a romance novel. Like, this is not a Harlequin situation.
Right.
What I mean is a story with, like, I mean, we've got effectively knights errant in the form of the Discovery, you know, on this mission to go rescue an artifact. Anybody else picking up what I'm putting down here? Mallory, Mort d'Arthur, Chrétien de Troyes, like all of the above.
I don't know that person. I know Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones is based on this. Indiana Jones is based on this. Okay.
Or National Treasure, the first one. When it was
all
good.
of these stories are based on this. This idea where you've got this knight errant who's got a mission. He's got to go save something. It can be a damsel. It can be an object. It can be what the hell ever. It doesn't matter. He's got to go save something.
Yeah.
Exactly. So he goes off. And the thing is like, in these stories, they just know where to go. All right. There's no reason for them to know where to go. They just do. They just go in the right direction. They go and they save this damsel and they get another piece of the puzzle. And then they just happen to know where to go to the next piece of the puzzle. And it's like you move from adventure to adventure to adventure. Because again, narrative cohesiveness isn't the goal. That's not the important part. The important part is the adventure. The important part is what each of these adventures is teaching you. So this is a really, really, really old story format. And it has been with us. Like, I mean, seriously, Mallory is, I want to say 13. No, I think Chrétien de Troyes is like 1100s. And Mallory's maybe a couple hundred years later, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on those numbers.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
So yeah, like, this is before English, guys.
Mm-hmm.
This is before English. This is how long it, and those are even based on earlier myths and earlier story formats. Beowulf, for example.
Yeah.
Again,
in the Odyssey.
Exactly. This is the same. This is literally the same story format. So, like,
well, I would do that. I would do that when I wrote, and I would put, have places for them to go, right? And then at some point, I have to go back and figure out how
how the hell they knew that,
how they got there, right? So
and part of the reason, like, I mean, and you get a little bit of that, right? Like, before you get to the Indiana Joneses and the Dan Browns and the National Treasures, because now we're now consuming media in a slightly different format. So, like, we're paying a little bit, and we also have different goals with our consumption of media, which is very important here. So, like, what we're trying to get out of the story is a little bit different. So now we're demanding a little bit more like, hey, that doesn't make sense. Like, where are we going? But so again, I really feel like this season is a throwback to these earlier storytelling models, which fits again with with this massive scavenger hunt to find a piece of God, which is effectively what we're doing.
Well, yeah.
And Discovery's going to win this because Discovery's doing it for the right reasons, whereas Mal and Locke are doing it for the wrong reasons. Though I do expect at the end of the season that we're going to get a twist where we somehow, cut the baby down the middle and manage to make everybody not ecstatic, but at least happier.
No, Mal and Locke will probably die.
I was about to ask everyone this question as far as like the storytelling goes, because based on what Marie just said, like compared to how much they crammed, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna say the P word, how much they crammed a lot of story in Picard, especially season 2. Like, and they just didn't really flow well. Do we feel like now that we're in episode 4, we got a little headway through the season? Do we feel like the storytelling is better?
Did we cram story into Picard season 2, or did we cram melodrama that we all hated?
Yeah.
I mean, because it's like they didn't really do anything until like the last 2 episodes,
right?
I mean, it kind of reminded me of what's that? Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice. Nothing happens until the last 20 minutes.
Martha, yeah,
yeah.
But you know what? It's Star Trek though, so you're always gonna get. The good thing is that you're always gonna get some type of Trek happening, right? So they know that this season they're gonna be looking for these clues. But then you get time jumps in there, and you get whatever is Star Trek themed. I mean, Star Trek, you get that in each episode, and that's what people watch it for, because like you said, a lot of stories are just the same, and what changes is the characters, the scenery, and how the characters interact with each other. But the plot system is pretty cut and dry,
which is not a bad thing. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. Like I mean, I have read so much Amadis Tagala. Like
it does get repetitive, doesn't it?
It does what?
It does get repetitive, doesn't it?
It does, but there's only so many stories that can be written. Right?
Yeah.
There's only a handful of stories that can be, like, all stories I think have been narrowed down to like 7.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, no, it's actually been studied. There is 7 set story types, and we just see different iterations of them over and over again, and sometimes mixing pieces from one or the other. But as Jason reminds us, when we did the Parallels episodes, that we have episodes of Star Trek that are pretty much exactly the same.
I mean, our conversation, sorry, Keith, but our conversation about this episode was hilarious because we're all like, he's like, yeah, let's talk about Shattered with respect to this. And I'm like, wait a minute, this sounds a lot like Time Amok, actually.
So can you spell out for me how this other than actually no, just flat out spell it out for me. How does this correlate with Time Amok?
So, Keith, you want to do this or?
Yeah, well, we talked about it before Marie came back on. It was
right.
Because you had Burnham, who was smartly, as soon as she realized that they're jumping, she started tracking it, and they plotted it out where you had the curve through the time, and we had that in Time Amok where
they were getting towards
each crew member was at a different point on
the curve.
Yeah,
that Janeway plotted, I believe.
Yes. And they had showing Janeway going on the curve to different points and finding the different people, where you have Jankum, who's killed pretty much instantly because there's only so much time, but then you have poor Rock Talk, who's stuck for so many years. Yeah.
Oh no.
Too long.
Yeah, I actually forgot about the episode, and
This is also like an episode of Voyager where 7 was going through different timelines on the spaceship.
Well, that was Relativity, where they kept sending her back to different periods to try to find where the temporal bomb was hidden.
Right.
But there is a Next Generation episode, Cause and Effect, where they got stuck in the time loop and crashed into Kelsey Grammer.
That was a little different, but that was a timed loop.
Is that the Romulan one where they're
No, it's when they're
No,
playing cards.
That's
Timescape.
Timescape.
yeah.
I know. Cause and effect was a time loop. But yeah, when they
Oh,
kept
when the
rebuilding
Enterprise
game.
kept being destroyed over and over and over.
Mhm.
Again, right?
Yeah.
And they were stuck for like, I don't know,
Weeks.
2 weeks, yeah, or something like that.
Which is kind of why I feel like the actual time portion, like the time bug portion of this, was really just a shorthand for like like hand wavy plot business to do, like, so in order that we can actually talk about like this greater emotional arc that we're going through, not only just with Burnham and Raynor, but like all of them really.
Mhm.
But wait, so that puts it on the table. It's like, wait a minute, somebody's out there making time bugs.
Well, this
Like-
is from the
like-
temporal
Yes.
Cold War.
Like,
bro.
no, but so obviously
Yeah.
they're out there.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, you have to get it on the black market, right? Is that what happened?
I don't know,
Yes.
it's ridiculous.
And there's one trader down, so like that's a source that's now gone.
Where's the picture at? Here it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, I'm sure we'll at some point some writer's gonna do a temporal Cold War version of Star Trek. Like
Please God, no.
We don't need
We got
it.
that from Enterprise.
we got
Might
too
be
much
cool.
of it in Enterprise. We don't need any more.
Might be cool. We got Daniels. I kind of like this.
I'm good. I'm good. I never ever need to see more of that.
I will say
because that was not a Cold War.
that I really hope, my biggest hope for this season, and I've said this before, I'm gonna say it again. If you really want me to say goodbye to Discovery, I need y'all to bring the Doctor in one time. He's here in this century. He's here.
Which doctor? The Doctor?
The EMH.
Yeah.
A copy of the
Oh.
EMH.
Well,
Mr. Schweitzer. Yes.
Yes. Because at that point,
Smollis.
from that point, he ended up being 700 years in the future, which matches the same century that
yeah, the backup Doctor who got stuck on
Yes, the one who got stuck having to travel for like however many thousands of years in order to get back.
in order to get back via shuttlecraft or whatever alien
living
ship he
history
probably
was,
took.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
unless he got caught by the burn, and then just exploded. But like but that would suck. Like
That's just darker than I need in life.
I know, but I'm
Well, you
saying,
had to go.
like last episode, please bring him back just once. Just
Well, we know we're getting him in Prodigy whenever season 2 of Prodigy actually loads.
In
What about-
English.
what about
Yeah.
season 2 of Prodigy?
Picardo is in the
Oh.
EMH is in season 2 of Prodigy, which
Yeah.
I'm gonna say right now. I'm gonna guess we're 4 weeks into Discovery. There are 6 weeks left. In 7 weeks, we're gonna get Prodigy season 2.
I hope so.
Except there's no guarantee because we're not dealing with Paramount anymore. We're dealing with
Right, we're on
Netflix, which is
Netflix.
a different kettle of fish entirely.
Yes.
Which is a whole conversation that I feel like we need to be having with Paramount because like lower decks people, what?
We had the
Yeah.
discussion last week, right? About how
But so much more has happened since we had that discussion on Friday.
well, let's segue into that. Like, what's happened?
Okay, so first up, Mr. Jack Quaid, also known as Lieutenant Boimler, put out an Instagram message. Let me get the exact thing up
That
here.
literally points to them looking for somewhere else to go.
Yes. Shoot, where to go?
I was gonna say, are we going on strike again?
Mm-mm.
No.
Oh, okay.
I could have sworn I had it saved here.
I keep forgetting that's Jack is Dennis Quaid's son,
Melody Griffiths too.
and that he's in Scream, and he plays as what's the name's killer's nephew or something.
Hold on, let me try. Where's?
Bless you, Murray,
thought I had
Bless
it.
you.
and bless you. again.
Okay, so Jack Quaid did a post on Instagram about how much he has loved playing Boimler and how he could do this for literally decades. He has loved playing this part so much that he just wants to keep on doing it. And he said, essentially, hopefully we can find someone else that they can shop us around to another streaming service.
Just like they did Prodigy.
Yeah, but when Prodigy got axed, the Hagman brothers immediately were like, "We're trying to find a way to keep this going."
Yeah, because it was too early to.
I, But when they announced on Friday that Lower Decks was cut, Mike McMahon was right there saying, "Well, it's time for us to move on. We've reached a natural end." But yeah, Jack Quaid
Have
said,
you though?
yeah,
I understand that they're because Keith, we talked about this last week that they're technically not lower deckers anymore,
yeah.
but it doesn't mean that we can axe two seasons and just call it quits, right? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, thing is, it's 2 seasons by our expectation.
Mm.
We got used to 90s Trek of everything being 7 seasons until Enterprise got cut short.
Until
of 4.
Enterprise, yeah.
So now what we're getting, like Kurtzman did an interview yesterday in which he said, you know what, 10 episode seasons feels just about right for Star Trek. Because that's all we don't need filler episodes. We don't need these strong character episodes.
I kind of disagree. Sometimes
Yeah.
those are just nice.
This is where we're lacking in character development, but I'm not going to rant.
I mean, there are episodes where I'm like, oh, I don't want to watch this episode. You know, it's really boring. So there are.
You mean all of Picard season 2?
I mean,
that's not even on the table.
Let's talk about a filler episode that's only about a little bit of character development. The Inner Light from Next Generation.
Mm-hmm.
That's a filler episode.
It is, isn't it?
Yes.
It is one of the most beautiful, arguably the most beautiful.
Well,
Like,
why do you call that a filler episode?
it doesn't contribute that much to the overall overarching plot of season 6 or 7, whenever it was, right? It's just there specifically for Picard, and it doesn't really bring it up again until Lessons when he's dating that one chick.
Well, he has the flute going forward, but yeah, it's only a brief little thing. You never hear him talk of Catan. You never hear.
Right.
The only influence over him is having that flute.
I mean, there was an initial plan to bring back a second part of that episode where they would actually find cryogenically frozen a whole, like, Picard's family effectively, and then that got axed because they sat there and they looked at the episode and they were like, "This is just too perfect."
Yeah,
let it be.
This is too perfect, and it was too gorgeous, and it was such an emotionally affecting episode that it was just one of those stories that just took off. But Keith's right. It was just a random filler to free up some of the other characters to film another episode at the same time.
And Picard's. They use Patrick Stewart's son in real life.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Daniel. But, well, one thing that's interesting is, thinking back, last week we got no Owo, no Detmer. We had different people on the bridge, and then this episode we get a bit more of Owo and Detmer. So was this a bit of them compartmentalizing, and any scenes with Owo and Detmer were being filmed while they were also filming the scenes for last week's episode, and that's why they weren't available to come over.
Who knows?
I mean, they could have been just trying to get it done as quickly as possible, and we're banking multiple episodes at the same time.
You know what's weird?
You're gonna have to narrow that down. I'm really gonna need you. I need a little bit more from you.
I was looking at you guys' reaction. When they transport, they just tap their badge.
Right.
Nobody ever puts in any coordinates or anything. Like,
they never explain it. Yeah,
it's like the comm badge. They don't really say who they're talking to. I mean, they do, but
they do. It's supposed to be.
They do, but they make it sound like it's happening in real time, which technically still doesn't explain it away. How do I know I'm talking to 10 forward, right? But,
well, when you say it, it routes you through. You say.
Well, what I love is
also apparently nobody does stairs anymore.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that nobody walks anywhere anymore.
Oh yeah, no one walks. I just realized that it's just like
show up on the bridge.
Well, just her and Rainer is like, I need to talk to you in my ready room, which is literally 5 feet that way, but there.
Right, but again, no coordinates. They I don't know when season 3, Book was actually putting coordinates in every time.
Well, in the very first time we saw it, yes. When he was beaming all over this planet.
He was calculating where to go.
Yeah.
and then they just got rid of that.
I mean, maybe the
I don't know.
combine elements
Maybe
for the ship.
they're
Maybe-
relying on Zora actually to
Yes.
do a lot of the calculations for them, and they can get away with. I can't believe I'm doing
Yeah,
this.
they still
Oh my
don't
God,
say
I'm
anything.
playing William.
They still don't say anything. Like they still just go, "I'm leaving," and then they just go tap tap.
Or no, I think my
Burnham-
favorite was also on Federation headquarters when like assistant douche was like, "Hey Saru, can we have a private chat?" Yes, I too have watched Lucifer. Thank you.
Yes, Detective Douche. I love it.
And so like they're like, let's go have a private chat. And they literally like beam to a room with an open door upstairs.
Yeah.
Like not using the stairs.
And I'm just like, that would have been 5 seconds, but okay,
Right.
we're just
They
making we
just-
just want everybody to know that this is the far future and ain't nobody walking no more.
Everybody's gonna be fat and lazy.
Which is funny because there used to be a joke that I think it was I don't know if it was the Mission Law guys or it was the Nerdist guys, that Picard would have an emergency beam out. If he just walked into a room that was something uncomfortable, he would just go hit the communicator. Picard, emergency beam out 47.
Oh
Alpha.
God, there's an emotion happening. Help!
I mean, because the closest thing that we had in TNG era is like the movie that I cannot name because Marie will throw a shoe
Thank
at me.
you.
Well, when they had the
Data used
the
it.
mini thing, yeah.
Right. And it was just like it was a one-time deal, granted, but it was something as close as we could get it to that what we have in Discovery.
Well, yeah, but I remember we are now 700 years down the line, so technology has advanced, and obviously it has some sort of.
Yeah, our computers are now psychic, so it's
Yeah.
fine.
And Burnham doesn't even touch hers because her hair is covering it. But she just taps her hair.
Oh my
I was waiting for Jason to bring up the hair. I was surprised it didn't come up earlier.
But you
I've been waiting for the hair.
Oh,
You didn't notice that?
No, I've been waiting for you to talk about the hair, Jason.
I cannot not watch. I mean, I cannot not watch her hair now. Like, and I was
Without me
so
saying that's lazy.
without hearing you hear like you commenting on her hair in my head. Like, you have broken me.
Come here, Jason.
And speaking of broken, can we have a brief moment to talk about the terrible Michael Burnham wig, though?
I will say, like I was telling you earlier, it's giving Tyler Perry wig, and when I say Tyler Perry wig, I'm talking about like the last 3 movies he made. The wigs were just
Right.
terrible.
Right.
Like,
I mean, it's gonna be really funny because at some point, like Nico Martin Green's gonna come out and be like, "Yeah, no, that was actually my hair," and we're gonna be like, "No."
no, you can't pay us to believe that, baby. No, we love you, but no.
Oh, I didn't notice that it was a wig. I just didn't like.
Well,
really
you
pick
gotta
up on
think
that.
about how
But
thick it was.
I rarely ever notice wigs on like women though. Like my girlfriend be like, "You don't know that's a wig?" I'm like, I don't know. I don't. You know.
I mean, I
Really? Like, I mean, she goes from one thing to another thing overnight, and you
that's
don't
how-
think that's a wig?
say,
Hollywood. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying it just didn't register or occur to me. Maybe
I
what
will say, growing up, like, of course, African American women typically did pull weave, wigs, extensions, like, different types of hairstyles, which we've covered in Black Trek before. But there are moments where you can tell that it was done at a fling just like that, and it's like they didn't really take the time to really take care of it, and now it looks like a big ball on her head. And I'm not talking about and in no way am I talking about the actual wig itself. I'm talking about like what's under it, like that you can blatantly tell that this is a wig. You see what I'm
They
saying?
did a much better job with Mira Burnham in season 3.
Yes,
Yes.
they did.
Mhm.
Because I'm just over here going, that just looks awkward.
Yeah,
Like,
put that
it just-
picture up again. Well, that you had.
Here we go. Now this is the original season 1 right here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is her hair, and it's even
Which is her
natural hair, right? Like,
Now let's jump to today.
Yeah.
Baby, did someone steal the wig? Because like even Mira Nassir just kept her hair, but it kind of reminded me of Worf losing his original hairpiece.
Well, if
like
the
to
hair,
be fair, Marina Sirtis stole the wig because she's like, I like this.
Right. It's just like, what are you gonna do? Go after her for taking a wig? But I'm sorry, Keith. Was there any more news? For
Oh, there's a ton of news. I didn't do a news brief yesterday because I was too tired after a softball game. But yeah, there's so much stuff. The original Enterprise has been returned. The 3-foot Enterprise model that had gone missing in 1980, stolen off of Gene Roddenberry's desk, has been returned to Rod Roddenberry as of today. And everybody was there, like a crew of people who made Trek in the 90s showed up to pose with the now returned original Enterprise. So you've got the Akudas, you got Doug Drexler, you got basically everybody who's been a part of Star Trek for 30 years was there for the return. Shaniqua Martin Green did an interview in which he let it slip that the final episode of this season, Life Itself, will be an extended episode, so longer than the hour we're used to. Lower Deck Season 4 is now available on Blu-ray. The actor who was hired to play Scotty in the final episode of Strange New Worlds is in all of Season 3, and he let it be known that 7 episodes have completed filming, 3 remain. The most recent was directed by first-time Trek director Sharon Lewis, who posted behind-the-scenes videos on Instagram of the work on her episode.
Yeah, Sharon.
Celia Rose Gooding posted a picture of herself with Shaniqua and Dawn Lewis, who plays Captain Carol Freeman on Lower Decks, with their Family Feud names on them as they filmed an episode of Celebrity Family Feud, along with Wilson Cruz. No idea who the opponent is, but the 10th season of Celebrity Family Feud is supposed to air sometime between July and August. So it'll be Team Star Trek with Burnham, Freeman, Uhura, and what's the Cruz? Dr. Like on his name right now. The Doctor. Wilson Cruz.
Wilson. Okay, yeah.
Colbert.
Thank you.
Hugh Colbert.
All right.
And I have real questions about where that name came from.
Let's see. And of course, ABC News had the story today. Point out that the person who located the Enterprise was not getting any credit. A man named Don Gaffney. He's the one that found it on the auction site and pointed it out to Doug Drexler, John Eves, Rod Roddenberry, and various people across message boards that led them to be able to get it. And he was commenting on the Facebook post on it saying, I didn't get invited. No, I'm not getting any credit for this. What the hell? So shout out to Don Gaffney for being the one who found the missing Enterprise. And I think, and also Inter Milan of the I'm not sure what league they play in. The football team, they will be wearing Star Trek jerseys coming up. They have 3 jerseys that have Star Trek printed on them in a partnership deal with Paramount.
Wearing them where? On the field?
On the field.
Oh.
I don't know why my link isn't loading here.
So, like, cool.
Hold on, let me get the exact details here. Let's see. So they had a partnership with Paramount Plus, and they've already worn other Paramount Plus themed jerseys for Transformers and Ninja Turtles.
Really? I have to see these. I don't think I've ever saw that before.
Yeah, but collection of special edition jerseys dedicated to Star Trek. They have 3 in all. They'll be wearing a blue one versus Inter versus Cagliari. And even the stadiums will be decorated to look like the Discovery. So this is all time for the release of the 5th season of Discovery.
Are they Champions League? I feel like they are. I mean, I know they're Serie A, but I think they're also Champions League.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything on. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. Yeah, I'm on their website, so obviously they don't list in the article what league they're in because they expect you to know.
Yeah, like they're European. They've won the European Cup Champions League 3 times, 2 back to back in 1964 and 65, and then in 2010.
Mm.
Yeah.
And they've, I mean, obviously, and they've played in the Coppa Italiana, but
Well, so this is a soccer league or is it a football league?
Soccer.
American football league.
Soccer.
Okay.
European football, or what everywhere else other than the United States calls football.
Right.
And also we have further murkiness on when the Section 31 movie is set. We know that there's a character in it who we see from the Lost era of Star Trek, but we also find out that an alien species will be appearing in the movie that we meet in Voyager.
Huh.
So somehow they're going to have an alien species that we meet in Voyager set in the 24th century.
It better not be the Kazons.
No,
I know. Like, if it's the Klingons from Wish, I'm done. I'm out.
It's
Say,
the
we got
Bagua.
in Prodigy.
It's the
Oh, the
Bagua.
Bagua.
Yeah.
You
I
know
feel like
what,
I
that
should
makes
remember
sense?
that, but I don't.
That makes sense because you gotta remember
They
were
kind of look like pythons. They have the thick necks that come out, so they look like giant snakes.
yeah, they're pretty much the Delta Quadrant Cardassian. Like, and they were there when the Borg were at that point in history was just like in a few quiet corners of the quadrant.
Oh, and also Hallmark announced their ornaments for this year. We're getting some wonderful new Star Trek ornaments coming up.
Mm-hmm. It looks really good this year.
Yeah,
Oh.
I'm finding that they tend to do a lot more Star Trek news releases on Thursdays, so it's really does not behoove me to record Trek briefs on Wednesday nights. So
Okay.
I'm switching that. I'm switching that to Mondays. So starting, I didn't have an episode last night, but I'm saving everything to Monday where we'll have a supersized episode.
Okay.
Oh, I know what the Bod are. Those are the ones that name means foolish.
Yes.
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 Well, they weren't nice people.
All right. So next week's episode is Mirrors. It's called Mirrors, and if you picked out the details from the trailer, that may mean a crossover. There's something that was pointed out in the trailer that may mean a crossover with that universe that they're supposed to not be close with anymore.
One more Mirror Universe episode. I'm here for it.
Yep.
Just one more.
Oh yeah. So Voyager, Janeway says like one of the best things I heard her say in that Vardwar episode when he's like asking her, well, when it's raining out, do you run around like crazy while you're steadily getting wet all the time, or do you accept that you're getting wet and hold your head high and walk with some composure? And she's like, I carry an umbrella.
I mean, I'm team crazy person, so
I'll get a bucket because I want some water.
You will have your milk and you will like it.
go to the Corova Milk Bar, people.
I mean, we can throw in answers. It's just like our Tony Stark saying, "I think I'll just cut the cord."
Right.
I'm a little bit upset that we don't get to see the Zenkethi again. Once again, we're teased with the Zenkethi and then are denied.
I feel like they did that on purpose. Like, hey, let's just pick out a species that we haven't talked about. Okay, Zenkethi, great, let's do it.
Nah.
So
we get nothing of the Zenkethi, and I'm really bummed about that. By the way, like, I was just like, what?
That's literally what I just said, but yeah.
But all right, kids. We are running almost 15 minutes over.
So
some of us have to go turn into pumpkins.
The iconic line. So yeah, thank you for everyone watching today. It was pretty good episode. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was pretty good. Like, they well executed in my opinion. Like, if I hope everyone concurs. But yeah, anyway, thanks for the news, Keith. Thanks for the analysis, Marie, and thanks for everything else, Jason. So,
I did my best.
Recap. Come on.
Everyone, live long and prosper, guys.
I know when
Wait, Jason, on a scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you being right now? I gotta know.
I'm serious, dude. You got
Like 10 out of
I'm
10
100%
serious, or picking on Michael serious? Which one?
There is no temperature in space. It's not cold.
Yes, there is.
What are you serious?
Okay, wait.
Who is
Somebody's doing
dear God, it just
It's
got
because you
better.
said his name.
Oh! Welcome to the party, Michael.
No, that is not how we're gonna end the episode
No.
because Keith
No.
actually has like a legitimate news update. He knows shit, and we should possibly like convey that knowledge. to
That's
other
my favorite
people.
line. He knows shit.
It's just like a black and red mound. It's like,
Why are you describing yourself?
what the hell?
Hello from
Hey,
man.
Virgil.
Hey,
Hey, Virgil.
welcome.
Hello, Virgil. Welcome. Who are you?